quit at responding.
So this is now being recorded, discussing the format, the panel presentation for Monday, August 12th, 4 to 5:30 p.m. and the panel style. And
Alyssa is laughing because I earlier said that it was Wednesday afternoon, so it's on me.
But hey, we're keeping us on our toes, right? I like it.
That's true. You know what? We all have input. If you want to do it on Wednesday too, we can talk about that. But I don't know. Just as a review, we're 10 minutes, 15 minutes in, so this is being recorded for anybody that needs some follow-up and background. So what we've said so far is similar to a panel we did in the fall. Each one of us is going to come up with 4 questions relating to the topic at hand, which I'll flash in a minute. And then we do a roundtable where the person creating the question will ask the question, and then each of the panelists will answer it in 1.5 to 2 minute time frame, with the final capstone being available to the original inquisitor, creator of the question. And we do a roundtable. We go to the next panelist. They ask their question. It goes on around, back to them. They do the final word. And then it's an 1.5 hours, which we're budgeting roughly 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. And I will share the screen on the original description. AI, one of the good questions that came out, I think Hussein might have asked, is this just from a student perspective, how we help students, from a faculty perspective, as educators, how we implement? And the answer was yes. So all the above. Whatever perspectives you feel are of value. And then we said the 4 questions you're going to create, put it in the order of your desire for presenting and answering, 1 through 4. And if you do 5, nobody's gonna kill you or shoot you. But I think minimum 4 is what we're targeting. And the last time we did this in the fall, I think we got through 2 questions each in a roundtable format like that. And we use AI to generate the format and to get some ideas on how to present with multiple moderators and multiple panelists, and Alyssa endorsed it, saying, yeah, it seemed to work pretty well. And and I agree. So MFON was invaluable in helping to moderate and make it work. So, other comments, feedback, questions?
I think you also mentioned earlier that we would want to try and limit the responses to like 1.5 minutes each, because as academics, we're not used to talking for too long.
Great point.
Scott, we got inundated with questions during our AI day. Do you know if there'll be a chance to curate the questions as they come in so we can kind of figure out which ones we want to tackle?
Great question. I know at when we were doing IMA, they had a moderator that was reviewing the questions and presenting. I don't think AAA does that as a matter of course. Okay. So there's no online app to have questions asked. So I know when we did it last time for AAA, but it was not the full annual conference, but a more regional. We had we as moderators, MFON and I were letting folks ask the question, repeating the question, and then getting panelists to answer as they felt comfortable. And not everybody had to respond to all questions from the audience at that point. It was those top few that said, yeah, I've got some input. So good question. Again, annual AAA might have a different format and might be able to give us some insight on that. That's a good question though.
Well, Travis, are you meaning, we use a software where people can kind of submit their questions, and then is that kind of
Yeah, that's what we had, is that you could go on an app, you could submit your questions, and then the audience could upvote your questions. So you could see kind of what was most interesting to the audience. But as the moderator, I could also take some out if, we didn't want to go through, a big discussion about the footprint of data centers or things like that, so those are things that we could filter out if we had that capability. If it's just live Q&A, that's fine, we can deal with it too, but I felt like the system we had worked well.
Well, just to clarify, so it's like a software, so while we're talking, the audience will go in and they can go in anonymously and type in questions, and then we'll see the questions as they pop up, and then we can kind of choose which ones and say, well,
Everybody
hey,
can see
someone
the
else-
questions. The entire
Oh.
audience could see the
Got it.
questions as they came in. And you could either submit them anonymously or not. You could put your name on it if you wanted to. And then the crowd would upvote the questions that they agreed with. So you get not only the audience participation, you also got the sentiment of the crowd as well.
And that was a conference app that allowed you to do that. So for each session you were in, you could add questions, comments specifically. And I did like the upvote feature that went with IMA on that. We might be
I
using the
think
same
there's-
app actually at AAA as
I think there is something that you can, I'll check on that. I don't know if anybody knows. I think there is something that you can use.
So ours
that's
was
similar.
a company called Cvent, which is very common. So maybe if it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah, Cvent's been used at a couple of conferences I've been at, and it might have been the last AAA as well. I don't remember. But there were 2 or 3 majors out there.
Travis, do you still have some of those questions?
I can get access to them. I will say the audience got, I think, of probably about 400 or 500. We probably had over 100 questions. I mean, it was a lot.
I'm kind of thinking about poll everywhere, or
Well, everyone can do that
Mentimeter
as well.
is another one that does that. Yeah, there's several of them out there.
You should probably find out what AAA is using. And then if we need to, that's not a bad idea to have a poll anywhere or something else ourselves. But if it's built in already, because and it was also an IMA, you were restricted to those that were registered for that session.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that could access the Q&A to go with that. So for somebody who just hopped in and hadn't registered, they weren't able to access.
Interesting.
It's a nice feature.
Quick question: do we want to look at the list of questions that Travis just referred to, and see if we want to pick some of them or no?
Different topic. I mean,
Okay.
IMA had
Got it.
different orientation, industry specific. I think Travis, as I recall.
Yeah, we had different sessions. I think some of them were kind of, general AI kind of topics, not, kind of what the topic is here. So I don't think that'd be as germane, but I'll look through them, and if I see some that are interesting, I'll definitely send them to the group.
Okay, thank you. And quick question here: do we want to focus on generative AI specifically, or on AI in general? Yes.
Yes.
If we don't define it, I fear, just based upon experience, if we don't define it, then it will be, a broad definition of AI. It's not going to be specific to Gen AI.
Although I think we're focusing on AI in education.
Yeah.
And that's why, students, interaction, technologies, during school and post-graduation. So I think that might be self-limiting in its own right, because we're not going to go back to Eliza or anything, ancient history. But any thoughts?
I think we can talk about either one. Like, so for example, if there's a place where generative AI would be more suitable to discuss, we would do that. If there's a place where we're talking about, let's say, predictive analytics or something like that, where actual like machine learning would be more suitable, then we can discuss that as well, right?
Would that be, so do you mean in a question format, or do you mean having a segment where we talk about, or someone talks about?
So like the questions that we ask, so we are supposed to propose 4 questions each, more or less, right? So those 4 questions, should they focus strictly, that was my question, should they focus strictly on generative AI, or should they also include something related to, let's say, machine learning, such as neural networks, cluster analysis, etc. That's what we would want to discuss. My only concern, with all honesty, if we talk about AI or machine learning in general, this may be too general, and it may be like really like just barely scraping the surface of what we would want to talk about. but again, I'm open to each one.
Yeah, we have an hour and a quarter for discussion. I can see where it could end up all over the place. Although I wouldn't be uncomfortable if there's a specific area. If you say, robotic process automation is a specialty, that's something our students can use, integrate, and be aware of.
I teach it FYI in my class.
That's
Yeah.
probably appropriate material.
So maybe we can
but-
actually discuss automation in this case, Scott.
Sure.
I would say ask the question, because we're all submitting the questions. We're all going to see the questions. We'll all give feedback on the questions. So I would just say ask the question. That would
Okay.
be mine.
I would say too, I mean, I know we're proposing that we all answer each of the questions, but if there's something specific to one of the courses that you're teaching and maybe one or two of the rest of us that applies to, I'm open to passing as well. Like, I don't teach RPA, that's not going to fit in my wheelhouse, but I think it's an important part of our conversation if you teach it, because I'm sure there are others that are thinking about how to add it in or not to add it in. And so if you have experience, I think that's valid to share, but I'm also like totally okay acknowledging that that's not something that I'm going to teach and passing in a given question too.
And
Agreed.
Jose, I think that'll make it good because, it's straightforward. That's answering that you don't know and
Yeah.
still giving a great answer. And then the question will still come back to you. So remember, you'll be giving the questions to all of us, and you'll be the final person answering that question. So you'll also get a chance to talk about that topic as well.
All right.
And we're saying
actually,
a max. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I'm saying we're doing a maximum minute and a half, 2 minutes. And Christy, I liked your idea that says, here's a brief thought, but that's not my specialty. And that's perfectly adequate. You don't have to fill the time that
Right.
academics team to do that. But yeah, if you're given 2 minutes, you take 3. But no, we don't have to.
Well,
Go ahead,
to be
Hassan.
honest, there's something that would be good about that as well, is that it puts people's minds at peace in that not everyone can or should know everything about all these topics. So
Yeah.
Christy may not be familiar, for example, with RPA, but she's actually very familiar with generative AI. I may be the opposite, or just giving an example. In this case, you don't have to know each and everything. And at that point, we don't make people feel a little bit less competent about emerging technologies in general.
Yeah, great point.
I like that too. I wonder if it organically allows us to touch on the different places and spaces that it's appropriate to bring it into different classrooms. If we're teaching at the intro level versus if we're teaching at a 3,000 and 4,000 level, then that lets us kind of speak to that too, of how that changes potentially with the student as they grow, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that. That actually makes sense.
I don't know if this is outside the scope, but we've used a new exam software recently that has been able to search the web to see if any students are uploading any of the exam questions. And because the exam is specifically, like the numbers are only to that one student, even if they're uploading it to Chegg under some rando name, it ties it back directly to the student because they're the only ones that have those specific numbers. So I don't know if is that outside the scope of this conversation, or is it more on the educator side, like how we're using potentially some kind of AI tools through our exam software to kind of help a little bit.
I think this is using AI to identify these numbers and to link these numbers to the students. So that's one of the things.
Okay.
I think this is, in a way, it's linking the software, the service that you use. Is it Examined?
Yeah.
So Examined is actually one of the things that it advertises that they use AI, or they kind of use AI in their exams or something like that.
Okay. I might include it as one of my questions, and then once we kind of sift through, just see if we have more, we need to do it, whatever that looks like. But anyway.
Good comment, Alyssa. That actually fits with one of my thoughts when I talk with folks is most people who are going to be using AI are not going to be querying ChatGPT or going in and saying, Gemini, tell me about this. They're going to be using an application, whether it's in Office and Copilot, whether it's in Salesforce or even QuickBooks or tools like Examine. So I think that fits in well with
Okay.
how a lot of folks in our audience, and I'm still amazed at how many folks in the audience are not using it. We're not really implementing it. I mean, by now you'd say, oh, it isn't over 60, 70%, at least are hanging out and trying it. Because we know our students are, but we're not, that's not the percentage that I'm getting when we talk. So.
Yeah, Grammarly's AI feature is currently triggering Turnitin for plagiarism checking or plagiarism control. So that's a question that I've gotten before. Yeah. Is Grammarly okay? And I think it's really up to you.
Yeah, and when I first heard open. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Please, after you.
Now, I just wanted to say this ties in also to what Alyssa was just mentioning regarding exam in the same way. So, and like Scott mentioned, it started to get integrated to a point where we don't even notice that we're using AI. We're using an application that is AI based or AI powered.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else for today, other than setting a date for the questions?
I always find it's nice before these panels if we could get together on site beforehand. So if anybody knows if they're getting in the night before, be happy to host a dinner or we could find a place to meet up. But yeah, I think it's I'd be interested if anybody else is.
Yeah, I'm coming in Sunday night, Sunday afternoon.
Anybody going to CTLA the weekend?
I'm going to, but not to CTLA. I'm going to the ICT workshop. So I arrive on Friday evening.
Same.
I'm anticipating being there Friday. If I don't go through the surgery, that's the week before. I'll know by next week. Just
I should be there Friday. I have to double check Friday. I think I'll be there Friday as well. I have to double check.
So I like that idea for a Sunday gathering if we're all available.
I think I signed up for an EY reception at some point on Sunday.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you for reminding me to RSVP. Thanks for that. It is 6 o'clock, 6 to 8.
Oh, that's a long time. Okay.
I'm hoping it's like a come and go as you please.
Surely. But they also,
that's what they tend to do, buffet style.
But they've got like
they were going
thing.
to update. I don't know. I know. We'll see. We'll see.
I'll see you at the reception. So,
right.
that.
Or meet after the reception.
Yeah.
Just as a gathering, 8 o'clock, just as a target. Travis is a good idea.
Yeah, I like that.
So what's a good date? How much time do we need?
Oh.
Today's the 18th. Officially, the 12th is the target.
Shall we aim for next Friday?
The 26th?
The 26th.
Yeah.
To get questions in or to meet again?
Yes.
Yes to both those. Okay. I am in Florida Friday. But I can definitely get questions in. I just don't know if I'll be able to hop on a computer depending on what time they kick us out of our room. But I actually can. I can. I'll be good on a computer Friday.
I was gonna say, would the following Monday be better or
honestly, no. We're getting kicked out of our room, but I just remembered our cousins are not. They're all staying till Saturday, so I can just hop into their room.
So we're meeting.
I'm pretty flexible the next 2 weeks for the week. Just FYI.
Wait, say that again. Sorry, Hussein.
I was just saying that I'm pretty flexible for the next 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Meeting wise, I can always reschedule other meetings that I currently have. Nothing is set in stone. I can always reschedule those.
So we'll have questions on the 26th and a meeting. Is that
you want to have questions in by 11 a.m. or 12 and then meet early afternoon, same 2:30 time frame or something?
Yeah, we could do that. Or maybe you want to give a cushion, have the questions Friday and then meet Monday?
Okay.
That's fine.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Do that.
It works.
Yep, that works.
Works for me as well.
Okay, so questions on the 26th and then we meet on the 29th.
Sounds good. 2 or 2:30, 2:30 same time?
Sure.
Works.
So,
Yep.
yeah, works for me.
It works.
Perfect.
And what's good about that is we get whatever we get in on that Friday, we can send it out. And who are we going to send it to? Well, I mean, how are we going? What's the logistics? We send it. You can send it to both of us, and then we can send everything out in one document that Friday. Then everybody will have it over the weekend, and then we meet on Monday and kind of talk through it. Yes, sir.
Do you feel it's easier for you, logistically speaking, to have a Google Doc where each one of us would add the questions to that document? Would that make it easier for you, or is it more difficult?
I'll leave that up to Scott.
I was going to pass the buck too. Actually, that's probably a good idea.
It's just
And-
less
and we-
work for
And
you
the other
guys.
thing we can coordinate, we can leave things, because the other thing I'll send out the last PowerPoint that we did for last fall. And everyone get a chance to do their own slide for their bio, with their picture and any descriptive information they have. And then I'll show the format of how the questions were laid out. And I'll get that distributed as well, by tomorrow night. What time on Friday? By 5 o'clock, 5 PM Friday? Is that, enough time?
Yeah, yeah.
Just so we can plan it out and think it through.
I'm looking through these questions from the last conference. I do think there's some good ones in here, so I'll put those in the Google Doc as well, just so you'll have them. I think, a lot about privacy, data privacy, ethical use. I think the most interesting one I found is that when everyone's using AI to create content, how will publishers differentiate themselves? Which I think they won't. So, yeah.
No, there's another question that one time was asked, or it was more about researchers. If you're using AI, for example, to conduct a literature review, and then later on reviewers are using AI to generative AI to actually evaluate this. So basically it's ChatGPT grading ChatGPT.
That's right.
When I've evaluated presentations, be on the committee to evaluate presenters, I've actually plugged in AI and see, it got some really good questions. I read it first and my questions first, but then I had AI supplement, and it had some good insights.
I must admit, I'm just happy that I got tenured before generative AI became out there. Just to say.
I'm just happy I got my doctorate after the internet, so we're good. All right, sounds like we're on track. Any other last thoughts or comments?
I'm just very excited about this, and I hope that everything will go well with you, Scott.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good luck,
We
Scott.
appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
All right. I will go ahead and stop the recording, and then